All right, so I'm gonna give it like 1 or 2 more minutes before I just kind of start going through.
What?
Rocky, nice to meet you. Well, that's so exciting. You're planning dinners for your church. I love that. Yeah, I mean, something that I think is going to be cool about what we talk about today is how versatile it is to create and plan events via meez, depending on whether or not you're a professional cook or not. Like, it's something that you can still utilize for whatever you need it to be, and hopefully get much more accurate ways of planning events and making sure it's a smoother journey. Okay. Let's give it 1 more minute here. Also, I'm based in Brooklyn, for those who are saying where they are, which explains why you hear construction outside of my apartment, because it's constantly noisy here, which makes it fun to work from home, but it's fine. All right, Liz, I think I'm going to go ahead and start. Does that sound good to you? Perfect. Okay. From the Bronx, cool. I'm from Los Angeles originally, so I'm just, a trespasser, but I'm trying my best to fit in as best I can and stay out of the way. Okay, so a little bit of just background about me. First of all, I really appreciate everyone joining. If you want to chime in at any point, you can go ahead and unmute yourself, say what's up, ask me a question. Sometimes this stuff is just very back of the hand for me. So I don't really consider, like, maybe you have more questions about it. So feel free to interrupt me. But we're here today to learn more about how you can plan an event in meez and kind of what those best practices are. Upstate New York, heck yeah, welcome. So the reason we're going to do this is because there's a lot of different events out there and you can plan for them kind of the same way in meez. So we're really going to learn how you can do this for whether it's a catering event, maybe it's a pop-up. Collaborations are always great. You're working with another restaurant. Maybe it's just for a holiday dinner coming up or a ticketed event. So it's going to be versatile for all of that. So I'm going to go ahead and share screen here. Also, for those who are joining us late, there is going to be a recording sent so you guys can hear me awkwardly talk to everyone for the first few minutes. No problem. Okay. So first and foremost, can you guys see my screen? Thumbs up, thumbs down. We love to hear it. Okay. So for those of you that are familiar with meez, have been in the site before, you're familiar with this homepage. If you maybe haven't spent any time in our system yet, this is our homepage. So we'll have a series of tabs, real quick overview. Recipes are first, unlimited recipes. Recipe books you can put recipes into to organize. Also great for sharing in bulk. Docs is my personal favorite place. We're also going to utilize docs during our little how-to right now. And then we have ingredients. This is just the ingredients I'm using in my recipes. So for me personally, and again, I have a history of 11 years as a baker, but I also owned a restaurant in Chicago for a number of years. I started that restaurant by doing pop-ups, and now I do pop-ups since I've sold the restaurant. So when it came to thinking about something I wanted to share with you guys, planning events made sense because it's something that I love to do and I think works really well in here. So while you might have different systems of how you get ready for an event, I'm going to show you what I think makes sense, and hopefully it gives you some guidance. All right, so first up, you can't do an event unless you have a menu. You can't have a menu unless you have a recipe. So first I'm going to show just basics of how to upload a recipe. And I'm sure maybe some of you have done this before. Raise hands if you've created a recipe in meez before. Okay, cool. So then it should be familiar to you. So I'm going to go to new recipe, and I'm going to call this meatballs for the event. Also, what should my event be today? What are we doing? Is this for a barbecue? Is this for, I don't know. Let's make it a barbecue. We're going to have an upcoming barbecue. So I can right here, put it in a recipe book right away. I'm going to hit next. This is what's going to pop up. So for those who know, copy and paste is my favorite way to upload into meez. I can, of course, also just go very simply line by line here, but we don't have time for that. And so whether or not you guys have your recipes currently organized in a Word doc or in a sheet, doesn't matter. You can copy and paste this in. Personally, I love doing this for like a Bon Appetit magazine I found and want to modify. I'm going to throw it right in there because oftentimes you're doing custom things for events. You have to figure out where to get that recipe from. So let's say this is my meatball recipe. Historically, I've kept it in sheets. I can also copy and paste this from a Word doc. I can do this from obviously Excel. I've pulled lots of New York Times recipes. I'm just going to copy my ingredients on one side, and then I'm going to copy my procedure in the other. I'm going to go ahead, add the recipe. So it's going to upload on both sides. It's going to capture my line breaks for me. I like using the bulk add because it also gives you kind of like a formatting sneak preview. So if there are weird line breaks, you can catch that right away and edit it before you upload it in. So really easy to upload. So here I have all my ingredients and my prep. Have to make sure I put in a yield every single time. That's the one thing we won't do for you. Tell us your yield or do an auto calculate. I can put it in a picture too if I want to, if I'm feeling bougie that day. So just like that, first step is done. I have a recipe for my event. I can go ahead and create all my other recipes that I need to make sure I have everything I need for my upcoming event, organize them into a recipe book just for that day. Next, what we're going to do is we're going to work on costing a recipe, because obviously a big part of putting on events is making sure it's hopefully profitable for you. I used to be very seat of my pants. I was an Excel girly using outdated numbers. But what's great about this is that you can actually update your costs in meez and then eventually actually generate a food cost calculator. So what I would do to update my costs just in a manual way, and we have other versions of doing this, happy to get on a demo with you guys on a different day to go over more step-by-steps of these specifics. This is just real broad overview. I would say, okay, I know it cost me $4.99 a pound for ground beef. So I can go ahead and update that cost. So not only is this going to update the cost for me, oops, 1 second, let me go back to, there we go. So not only is this going to update the cost for me in ground beef in one recipe, this is actually going to update the cost for every single recipe that contains ground beef. So I only have to do it once and then it's done. So there we go. I have my cost. It's updated for me. I can go through and do all of my costs. And once I have the full recipe costed, let me show you one that's fully done here. You're going to be able to see a really cool cost calculator. So I'm going to go ahead and scroll down. You'll be able to see your total cost, your cost per serving, and this calculator here. From here, I can do a few things. Let's say you guys are trying to hit a 25% food cost. It's going to tell you what your sell price should be. So you guys are maybe charging this by item for that day. Easy. I now know that I should charge $11, let's call it, to hit my margin. Or let's say that you're looking to do a $20 plate for an upcoming event that you're doing with other people. That's just what everyone's charging. What happens if I charge $20? What's my food cost looking like? 13%. I like that number. Sounds good. However, maybe you don't like 13% as a number and you're like, what if we modify how much pork belly goes in? I'm trying to really make sure I get the most bang for my buck here. If I update just even one ingredient, it's going to modify my food cost right here. So you can really play.
We're reading this now. She's like, I'm hoping we can cancel our reservation. Please let me know.
Oh,
so it's not as if they're saying that they're out. This is the email that she sent me.
All right. I know someone's canceling their reservation. If possible, if you could mute while you do that, while I'm really excited to learn about it. Maybe some other people don't need theirs canceled for the day. So while, like I said, I'm able to modify anything here, it's going to update my food cost live. No problem for me there. So once you have your recipe in and you have your recipe costed, now we actually have to figure out the day itself. So you have an upcoming event, you need to know how much food you need to make. That's the scariest part for me, was planning a pop-up and being like, will anyone want to come to my sleepover party? Or also like, maybe you're smarter than me and you did a ticketed event. So you know exactly how many tickets you sold, so you're ready to prepare. What's great about meez is you can actually use your recipes to generate an order list for exactly what you need that day. So let's go ahead and build an order list. I'm going to go to new recipe, order list for the barbecue, because I decided it's a barbecue. All right, so I'm going to go in here and I'm going to hit next. And maybe you have a recipe book that's just for order lists. Keep it all organized in one place. Now what I have to do is decide what I need for that day. So I did a ticketed event and I know exactly what I'm going to make, or maybe I'm going to hope that 150 people show up. So let's say I need to be able to make 80 of a banh mi pork bowl. That dark blue, that means that it's a recipe. So if you already have a recipe in here, use that as your ingredient. I also need to be able to make 900 of those meatballs that I just made. There it is. And then I also need to be able to make 65 black and white cookies. What's also cool about this, obviously this is from a food perspective right now, but if y'all are doing anything with cocktails, cocktail recipes work great in here, and you can do the exact same thing where you can actually generate an order list for not only your food, but also your beverages, all in one place. So once I know everything that I need to do for that day, for that event, what I can then do is go to these three dots, and I can actually go ahead and export an order list. When I hit export, it's going to download as a CSV file that I can open in Excel. So here's what that looks like once it's been downloaded. It's not very cute, not as beautifully formatted as meez, but it's super, super functional. And here is why. It's going to take every recipe and your sub recipe. So going back to my order list here, it's not only going to take the ingredients for the banh mi pork bowl, but also for the pork belly that's inside of it. It's going to take all those sub recipes, consolidate it into one number. So if I'm using flour across 5 ingredients, it's consolidated to one number here. And then it's going to tell me how much of that ingredient I need, which is this column right here, total. And then if I have my costing information in, it's also going to tell me the case size I buy it in, how many of those cases I would therefore need. And what's even better is it'll tell me the vendor I get it from and the item ID. So if you have all that info there, it's going to be right there for you. If you're missing any information, it's just going to be left blank, but you're still going to know your exact quantity. So I can now see, okay, I need 7 ounces, just shy of 7 ounces of milk. Do I need to buy a whole gallon, or do I have enough in the fridge already? So it's really going to help you avoid over ordering, make sure you have the exact amount in, and also make sure that you're not kind of like short on anything at the same time. So I am obsessed with this feature. This is why I wanted to do this specific topic. I think people sometimes don't know about it when they're just onboarding or in the program, but it is my favorite. Next to this though, what we can do that's even cooler is let's take this information. We can actually upload this into a doc in meez so I can keep everything in one place for when I'm there with my team that day. So I'm just going to go ahead here and copy this order list, and I'm going to go into my docs. So I mentioned that I love docs earlier on. Here's why. It's for everything that isn't a recipe. That means I can put my prep lists in here. I can put any training documents in here, a pack sheet for that day, or maybe I can just throw in my order guide like I just created right now. So I'm going to create a new doc, the order guide for the barbecue. And once I create a new doc, I'm going to have this little template here. I'm just going to paste it right in, and then I hit done. So I didn't even have to do any of the table formatting. It just carried over with it. So now I can access my order list in the same platform where my recipes are. I don't have to figure out if it was in Sheets or in Docs or where was it. It's all in meez in one place for you to view. Especially useful when you're going to have other people on site. So now the last thing we're going to do is the day of. You guys have your recipes done. You have them costed. You know exactly what you need to order to make that day happen. Now you just have to make that day happen. So how are we going to use meez on site with a team of people and prepping beforehand? Well, we have permissions for that. So this is a great time where you can use viewer mode. So what I can do is go here to my manage team. I'm going to add a team member, put in their name and email address. Maybe it's my sous chef. Maybe it's my friend that just helps me out for events. I can then prompt them to sign up for a free account and grant them view access. View access means that they're not going to be editing recipes. They're just going to be viewing them on site that day. What it looks like if I've shared a recipe with you as a viewer is like this. So I'm not going to see an edit button, and I'm not going to see any costing information. The only thing I can see now as your hands for the day is the recipe and the prep method. So I'm still able to see all my step-by-steps. So if I need to assign prep to someone and they've never made this dish before because it's for a special event coming up, they're going to know because I took photos with my iPhone ahead of time, exactly how I want that prepped, how I want that temped, and also how I want that plated day of. So they can follow along there without me having to babysit them because I'm doing my own thing over here. And what's also great is that I can tell them for the event, they need to make 97 of these. They can scale that themselves. These are living recipes that you can scale and convert right here. So they can scale that. Maybe they don't want to work in pounds because they have an allergic reaction to it. They want to work in grams. They can convert anything they want. Or my absolute favorite is maybe you guys forgot some of the spice mix back at the restaurant. You're a little bit short on site. You only have this weird amount. I can actually scale to that number. It's going to update my yield for me. So I'm like, okay, we're short on something, but we know we can run 86 of these. My pars are updated and my math is perfect. I'm not going to fudge it, and I'm going to get as much out of that yield as I can because I've used every single last gram of what I remembered to bring with me right here. So they can do all of that. They can also keep it old school. They can print right here. I'm a baker. My hands get covered in butter and flour. I don't want to be maybe on like an iPhone or a tablet, although they do present beautifully on both. You can also print this out. So it's going to have the yield right here. You can scribble your notes all over it if you're more of a writer, which I am. And you can also just keep it folded up somewhere if you want. Maybe if there's bad reception on site, just print it out ahead of time. So they can do all that. But when they refresh or exit out at the end of the day, it's just going to go back to 8 portions. So they are unable to mess up your recipe. They cannot adjust anything. They can't add ingredients. They can only see what they need to and execute it correctly. So yay, we love that. We love consistency and less fear while you're there. It's also going to be obviously really wonderful for helping with plating when you're on site, because oftentimes if you're doing a collaboration or you're working out of somebody else's kitchen, these are items that people aren't necessarily working with all the time. They've maybe never seen this dish before. Maybe they were late to pre-shift like my cooks always were. They missed the plating. They can then go in on their phone or on a tablet and they can pull up this plating on spot. They can make sure they know what it's supposed to look like. You're going to have dishes coming up beautifully. So you can go touch tables. You can go ask everybody how it is. You can also make sure that everyone's having a good time out there. Or you could be like me and hide in the kitchen because I didn't really like doing that part too much. All right. So now that is the basic gist of what you can use meez for creating an event. I would love to answer more specific questions if you guys had them along the way. I know this is obviously really high view and meez does a lot more than this. So I'm skipping over a lot just to make sure we get these parts down. But we still have about 10 minutes. So I would love to hear more about how you would utilize this, if you are going to utilize meez for events, troubleshooting what that might look like for you. If anyone wants to pop in, you're more than welcome to. Anyone can feel free to unmute themselves. I promise I don't bite. I'm here to answer questions, help with whatever you need.
Hey, Ursula.
Yes.
I'm new to meez and I'm a high school culinary teacher, so I've been playing with the features and stuff. And I was using another program that's been down for like a month because they've been doing some repairs on the site or something. So kind of really affected my business. But we also have an on-site bakery. That's our storefront. So do you think that high school students would be able to use these features as part of the curriculum, understand costing and everything more?
Yes. So from a costing perspective, what we would always recommend is having like a class login so that they can see what pricing looks like. Because again, from a view mode, this is not going to have costing, which is wonderful if you don't want them to see costing, because of course we're geared towards people that are visual learners so they can see their step-by-steps here. But if this was going to be for more of an educational purpose where they're learning how to cost, if they're given editing capacities, they would be able to then also view the cost of an item right here and be able to actually either update it themselves or at least see how the ingredients break down, what that cost looks like, and then, you know, understanding better what a good percentage is for educational purposes.
Another thing is I've had some ingredients that I've uploaded during my trial that weren't like converted over to the whole system. They were stuck on like the new ingredient guide. So is that common? I mean,
yeah, so there are a couple of reasons why that might be happening. One reason might be that there wasn't a location ID attached. What I would always recommend is if you are in trial or on a business tier account, using our help center, top right corner right here, There's actually some really wonderful articles and videos in here explaining how to upload costs and making sure you don't miss any steps. What I've seen most often is somebody forgets to put in their location ID. So it'll help you troubleshoot all of that. There's also a really wonderful support center that you can email directly right here. One of them actually used to be a culinary instructor. So he's very detail oriented, very step by step. And he can also help you troubleshoot anything that's happening. So does that answer your question about next steps to figure out what might be going wrong?
Yeah, because like one thing I was trying to import was blackberries, and the case size from my produce vendor was 2/6 ounces.
Mhm.
For some reason, it didn't carry over. So Gabe recommended I just do it as a 12-ounce item.
Yeah.
And then because I only have like 4 or 5 vendors, so I don't have them all in there yet. But looks like I may just have to make one mass spreadsheet with items from all my vendors so we can import anything. And then
Yeah.
the second question is like, if I import a new order guide, let's say once a week, will all the cost automatically be updated, or do I have to go back through and
For the
like,
order guide.
yeah,
So
so
the
let's
order
say I
guide-
have I have my items in there that are priced already. And let's say I just want to keep costs current. If I upload like say one spreadsheet a week with new updated pricing, will it catch all the changes, or I have to go back and manually and do those?
It will update the changes if it's the same name of the ingredient, if you're just replacing that name. So I would recommend, and this is something we didn't go into today for everyone else, is you can actually import bulk ingredient costs. So that way you don't have to go one by one on your recipes and updating the price. I would recommend downloading this template right here. It'll have a series of headings and just filling them all out. So, it's location ID, item name, price you purchase it in, quantity you purchase it in. So that way you're going a whole bunch all at once. So you can upload that. And like I mentioned, yes, if it's the same name as it's being called in your recipes right now, it'll replace the price for you along with the vendor info and anything else that's changed.
And then, sorry to hog the conversation here, but something like, let's say I use multiple things. Like, let's say I have like just one, say I have 3 kinds of boneless, skinless chicken, like chicken thighs.
Mhm.
Since I know boneless, skinless, I know boneless chicken thighs already a meez ingredient, but let's say I have one that's 7 ounces, one that's 6 ounces. If I tie that first, if I tie the meez ingredient to one of the 3, should I just import the other 2 as new ingredients then, or create
I
new
would-
ingredients?
Yeah, if there's going to be a price difference and a portion size difference, just create a new name. So
Okay.
let's actually create an ingredient right now just to kind of show what that looks like. And this is also going to just be helpful, I think, practice in general. So if there are 3 versions of the same item that you purchase, because one's boneless, one's skinless, one's boneless, skinless, you can actually customize the name of it. So if it's like 4 ounces or 1 each chicken breast, but you have multiple types of chicken breast, what I can actually do is update the name. Like this is going to be its own ingredient, and I'm going to create a new ingredient called chicken breast 4 ounce. And that way my cost is mapped to just that ingredient name. So that way you can keep multiple types of chicken breast in, and they're used for different purposes. It's like in bakery stuff, like having a nice, like a bougie butter versus like a
Right.
cookie butter. So
Okay.
that's my recommendation. We
All right,
still,
thank you.
we still have about 5 more minutes here. If anybody else had questions, or if that created more questions for anyone, if they'd like to learn more about while we're here. Am I just that good? Am I just that thorough? Is that what it is? Oh yeah, okay. Oh, I have somebody in the chat. Oh, you're welcome for the info. But yeah, I mean, happy, of course, to at any point too, if anybody needs more questions or they want to learn more, if you're in trial right now and trying to figure out what plan makes the most sense for you, I am available for a demo at any point in time. So, I mean, unless I'm already on one, but what we can do is with our follow-up email, we're going to send the recording to everybody, but also we're going to send the link to my meeting so you can actually book a demo with me directly. We can catch up, see how you've been since I last talked at you for 30 minutes. And also we can go over more specifics about what you're going to use meez for and how to make the most out of that. And then my last note before I let you guys get back to your day is, should you choose to move forward with one of our plans, we have wonderful onboarding. If you're in business or even a personal, there is a customer support, like I mentioned, in that help center. If you're on a premium plan, we also have a really, really great dedicated customer success manager that would be just assigned to you to make sure onboarding is a breeze. We help with invoice processing. We can help set up with other costing methods. So this is tip of the iceberg, but hopefully something that will help you plan an upcoming event a little bit easier with a little bit more guidance than before. So unless anybody else, thank you. I love meez too. That's so great. Any custom plans available? Why, yes, there are. So if you are what's qualified as an enterprise customer, that would be over 3 locations. We're more than happy to talk with you about what that looks like. So get on a sales call with us and we will guide you through it, learn more about your current needs. Also, especially for schools, like we love to be able to help as many schools as we can get the new era of cooks out there into the field. So would love to have another call to learn more about your needs currently.
Ursula, you think this is a software or something that we would be able to use that would work well for us at a church? I mean,
Yes,
not being professional chefs or anything, just doing church dinners and church breakfasts.
Yeah, what I would recommend doing is we do also have a personal plan that's free. If you don't need to do any costing, that would be a great fit for you because you
That
can
would be
upload
actually
one.
very helpful for me to be able, when the pastor asks me, what is this dinner going to cost?
Oh, then definitely there's a business tier. It's only going to be $25 a month on an annual or $35 a month for a monthly. So really affordable. You'd be able to do manual costing through there, as well as everything that we went through today actually is available on that plan. So hopefully that would be a good fit for you. We'll also include that pricing page along with the my demo link and the recording in our follow-up. So you can see if that is a good fit for you.
Awesome. Thanks.
Of course. All right. It's 3:29. We did it, you guys. I really appreciate everyone hanging out with me today. Thank you so much. It's been really nice to meet you all. And hopefully I'll see you guys soon in a demo or an onboarding and we'll talk more. But I'll let you guys get back to it. And thank you so much for joining today. Bye, y'all.